Hello, everybody. My name is Alexandre Marra. I'm a professor of the Pós-Graduation Stricto Sensu program in Health Sciences at Albert Einstein Instituto Israelita de Ensino e Pesquisa, and also I am a researcher at the Einstein Hospital Israelita. I have been researching at the University of Iowa Internal Medicine Department in Iowa City, Iowa for 10 years. I'm thrilled to introduce our international webinar series featuring guest speakers. This is the third presentation of the second semester of the year 2025. The International Webinar Series is part of our global initiative within the postgraduate program designed to connect Brazilian researchers, students, and healthcare personnel with international professors and researchers. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Koby Rubinstein, graduated from Tel Aviv University and the Technion. He received his PhD from the Courant Institute of New York University. He joined the Technion from Stanford University in 1988. Since 2001, he was also being associated with Indiana University. I'm honored to have you here. It's going to be truly rewarding to welcome so distinguished professional dedicated to different areas of health. Dr. Rubinstein will talk to us about innovations in visual optics, advancing medical interactions through cutting-edge technology. We have planned for Professor Koby to speak to 35-40 minutes, after which we'll have 15 to 20 minutes to answer questions. You can unmute yourself and ask your questions after his talk, or you can type your question in the chat. I'd like to ask for all of you to answer the survey at the end of the presentation. Thank you, and I will now hand it over to Professor Rubinstein to start. Many thanks,
Okay.
Professor Rubinstein. The floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you very much, Alexander. And it is a pleasure to return to Sao Paulo, even if only virtually. I visited Einstein a few months ago. It was a very nice visit. This is an outline of my talk. First, I'm a professor of applied mathematics. It's a bit unusual in this context, but you see, still I'm doing working on mathematical models in medicine. So this is the outline. I'll talk about how to develop a career in science from my own personal experience, how to use mathematical models, how to connect mathematics to medicine and physiology. And please do not worry, there will be a single mathematical formula in my talk. I will talk about a specific example of using mathematical models to invent new products in visual optics and to lead them all the way to the market, a tale of a startup company. And finally, I shall present a different point of view, let's say from 30,000 feet altitude, how innovation entrepreneurship in academia and hospitals, how it is seen from the management point of view, from the administration point of view. This is my experience as administrator. So I start with some personal comments. Now, I grew up in a city neighborhood where the focus was soccer. Soccer was the main thing there, but I realized very quickly I'm not going to be a professional soccer player, so I gave up and instead went to university. I studied mathematics and physics. I chose this subject because I believe these are essential in any discipline. No matter what you do in life, at some point it's good to know mathematics and physics. And then from Tel Aviv, I moved to Technion, that's Israel's oldest university. It's really a technological university focusing on engineering, science, and medicine. And here I did my master's degree in applied mathematics and immediately moved again, now to the Courant Institute of Mathematics at NYU. This is the world leading center for applied mathematics. Then I did postgraduate postdoc work at University of Minnesota. Here is my message from the first slide. Do not stay at one place. Avoid a zone of comfort. It's easy to stay in one place, but if you move around to different universities, every degree, another university, even during the degree, take a fellowship at some place for a few months, it's very good for you. You're exposed to new culture, new people, new approaches. at new challenges. So after my postdoc, I had a number of offers for first academic position. I now chose to go to Stanford to join the group of Professor Joe Keller. Now, why did I choose to go there? Because I admired him. I read his papers, I knew what he's doing, and I really wanted to be able to be near him for several years. Now, this is a very important part of my talk. I did not learn from Joe Keller new mathematics or new physics, but I learned from him how to think. This is something invaluable, learning how to think. First of all, how to choose a problem. Every scientist knows that the most difficult part is to choose a good problem. What is a good problem? So Joe has several rules for a good problem. For example, it shouldn't be too hard and not too easy, because you can solve it. Now, how to approach it? Try to simplify it as much as you can, and then bring more and more ingredients to approach the real challenge in the problem. Then how to write your solution, writing a paper. All of these are invaluable lessons, and I was extremely fortunate to be near Joe, work with him, and learn from him. Certainly, the few years I was at Stanford changed my life and made me what I was later on. However, a young tree cannot grow in the shade of giant trees. You need sun, you need water. Therefore, after a few years with Joe, I took a position at the Technion, went back to the place where I did my master's degree. And as Alexander mentioned earlier, I was also associated with Indiana University over the years. Message from this slide is one word: mentor. I strongly recommend, no matter where you are in your studies or academic career, it is good to meet a mentor, work with him. Not easy to find one, but you need to find one that you can work with. But if you can do it, don't give it up. When I had the offer to go to Stanford, at the same time, I had offers from other places, offering much higher salary. But it was not even an option for me. The chance to work with a good mentor, something you should never miss. Now, along the years, I also established many collaborations. Here I list my main collaboration. When I say quantum here, by the way, I mean superconductivity. So of course, Joe Keller is always on my mind, even if I don't work with him, I'm thinking that if I do work with him. Then Peter Stenberg from Indiana, Jorge Berger from Broward College, Gershon Molansky from the Technion, Michel Schatzman from Lyon, Sergio Barbero Madrid, Larry Cybers from Indiana also, Soela Lachmin, Zavadas from two physicians from Bnei Zion Hospital. We see people from different places in the world, different disciplines. Now, the question is how to find a collaborator. And again, I should find somebody that, first of all, we have joint interest, we have common interest. You can talk to him. It's fun to work with them. And if they're good collaborators, they also become personal friends. All of these people are personal friends of mine now. Okay, some of my best friends are my collaborators. And finding good collaborators is essential, in my opinion, to do good science. The whole is more than the sum of its parts. Each one brings something else, something different to the collaboration. So do not give up a chance for a good collaboration. So following this introduction, I want to speak a little bit about what do I mean by doing mathematics in medicine. So I'm going to review some topics that my partners and I worked on. First of all, ophthalmic optics, optics of the eye. We worked on modeling the optics of the eye. Then we developed innovative visual aids such as multifocal spectacles. I'm going to speak in detail about this specific issue in a few minutes. Theory for starburst. Now, what is a starburst? When you go out at night, when it's dark and the pupil is dilated, and look at a far object of light, for example, a far star or a street lamp, then you don't see just a point, you see a pattern. Now, many people report that they see rays emanating from the origin. When you look at a far object at night, others see more involved patterns. Now, where do these patterns come from? There was a debate in the literature for a long time about the origin of these patterns. This debate was settled a few years ago when my colleagues in Indiana experimentally and myself theoretically settled the issue. This starburst, this pattern, when you look at the fast star at night, originate from high order aberrations of the eye. Now, the eye is not a perfect optical system. Of course, many of us use spectacles or contact lenses because we don't have perfect eye. But spectacles only correct for the second order aberration. Now, even the other aberrations not corrected by spectacles, typically they're not important because they're small. When the pupil is dilated, such as under night conditions, they become more and more prominent. And this high order aberration, that's what gives rise to starburst. So the theory for starburst involved solving algebraic equation, some geometry. We were able theoretically to explain the clinical observation at Indiana University. And now we are trying to work on the inverse problem. Suppose somebody tells me what pattern she observes looking at the star at night or some other pointers under dark condition. Can I deduce from the patterns what are her high order aberrations? If we succeed, it will be the first time that somebody is able to compute high order aberrations in a real eye. It's a very interesting, very challenging problem. I plan to work later on this year, or maybe next year, on the equations of hydrodynamics in context of glaucoma. Adjustable spectacles is a very interesting problem. The question is, see, there are areas in the world where people don't have access to optometrists or to any kind of visual correction, but they're impaired visually. Can we give them spectacles that they can adjust to themselves? Maybe with a screw, adjust something in spectacles to give good vision. Now, we, together with my colleague Sergio Barbero from Madrid, we know how to do it. However, to continue our project, we need funding. And funding is always an issue, and you know, in scientific research, so this project is now on hold. Another very challenging area that we've been working on is the mechanics of the cochlea. Cochlea is the coiled object in the inner ear. It is the object, the physical object in our ear. It is responsible to translate the signals, the acoustic signal coming to the ear into signals to the auditory nerve. It is understanding the mechanics of this object in our ear is an extremely difficult problem. There is an intricate chain of elastic and hydrodynamical waves in the cochlea. And to make it even more difficult, there's an amplifier in the cochlea. This amplifier is activated by ionic channels. And developing a model that will agree with experiment and provide all the amazing properties of the cochlea is a very difficult, very challenging problem involving partial differential equation, dynamical systems, and understanding a huge amount of experimental observation. I think this is the hardest problem I've been working on for many years. Bladder cancer. Bladder cancer it's a special kind of cancer. It's unusual, being a chronic disease. Once it is diagnosed, the physician can remove the polyp from the bladder. However, these polyps tend to recur. But it's a chronic disease, and therefore, when you have a chronic disease, you have to follow up the patient. And the question how to follow up, it's difficult to do imaging of the bladder. So it would be very nice if you can find a biomarker in the urine for bladder cancer. I've been working on this problem with physicians in Haifa, and we identified a new biomarker. It is a molecule called semaphorin CA. You know, semaphore in Portuguese is a traffic light. Indeed, this molecule serves as traffic light for the neural system of embryos. but it also seems to indicate when it's present in the urine in a large concentration, it seems it is an indicator of bladder cancer, at least with males. So having identified this biomarker, by the way, to do it, to find this biomarker, we use, of course, lots of clinical work, lab work. The mathematical part was statistics, and also some neural networks. Even before AI became a hot topic like today. We continue working on it, study it in vitro and in vivo to understand the biology of the biomarker, and at the same time try to develop a model why this biomarker is there, what this molecule is doing that it benefits the tumor. It is secreted by the tumor itself. Why would the tumor want to secrete this molecule? For this, we develop now a mathematical model using, again, differential equations, some hydrodynamical ideas. Here is another project, dental caries. Now, caries start when hydrogen ions infiltrate the tooth. And when they go to the tooth, they melt, partially melt the hydroxyapatite crystals that are the enamel in the tooth. So this is a 3D problem because hydroxyapatite molecules have a direction. They have a very unusual structure. And we build a model for the diffusion of the ions into the tooth, for the interaction between the hydrogen ions and the hydroxyapatite molecule. It's a very interesting model. We were able to explain experiments with this model. And this work I did with my graduate student, René Fabregas, now in Granada, in Spain. The next step, it was not done yet, is to introduce fluor into the model to understand why fluor is so helpful in preventing dental caries. Here's another problem, pressure flux in non-uniform arteries. When there is a blockage or lesion in an artery, at some point, the cardiologist might decide to catheterize, maybe also introduce a stent to balance, to open the constriction and to balance it, stabilize it. Now, when should we do it? Typically, the cardiologist look at the narrowest point in the constriction. If it is too narrow there, he would catheterize. But is it the right parameter? Together with my colleague Wolansky, we realized that what matters is not just the narrowest point, but the entire structure, the geometry of the whole agent, the whole constriction. We have a theory. This is really a rare case, but theory comes before experiments. So we have a theory. We are trying to convince new experimentalists to check our theory. Some people say they're going to do it. I still wait for them. One of the main obstacles for me is to find experimentalists to work. Either they show me the result, or maybe I can recommend to them to do new experiments. And then sometimes people approach us asking questions in different aspects of medicine. For example, there was a group of biologists that developed immunotherapeutic drugs, and they found a surprising result. They developed T cells, cells of the immune system, that should do better and better work in fighting tumor. But at some point, although the cells should have been better, their performance was worse and worse, even though the cells seem to be better. So what's going on here? So they came up to me with this question, and it turned out to lead to a very, I would say, canonical but surprising question, control theory. They were able to explain why sometimes better, not really better. More, not always better. And there are some other examples where physicians and biologists come to us asking questions, and we try to develop mathematical tools for this. Okay, now let me capitalize on one specific problem, which is how to design spectacles, and particularly multifocal spectacles. This is the field in visual optics. When I was first presented with this design question, I knew nothing about the subject. So the subject had to learn from the beginning, what does it mean to have spectacles, what the eye is doing, what happens, how the eye operates optically, etc. This is a very good picture to demonstrate what happens in the eye. So here there are many object points. Each object emits a small wavefront of light. This is the lens, and here is the eye. So each wavefront, each point source emits light. The light goes into the lens, approaches the lens. It is refracted once at the front surface. Then the light propagates inside the lens, refracted again at the lens inner surface, and propagates toward the eye. Very simple picture. And the question is how to design the two lens surfaces to obtain a good image going into the eye. Well, it depends on the personality and individual design. Okay, now the eye is an autofocus optical element. It can contract and relax to obtain focus at different distances. Young kids can focus at even 10 centimeters and also at very far distances. Typically, we would like to have good vision from 20 centimeters to 10, 100 meters, etc. However, this flexibility of the eye lens is we slowly lose it, starting at about the age of 45. It cannot be avoided. You lose it. This is called accommodation. However, there's another dynamical property of the eye. When we look at a nearby object, the eye moves toward the nose, toward low and toward the nose. And this is called convergence. So we have two dynamical properties of the eye, autofocus, so the eye lens, and this convergence, the movement of the eye toward the nose when we look at a nearby object. So a solution to somebody who needs vision, both for far and for near, would be to design a lens called progressive addition lens or multifocal lens. So we replace the loss of one ability, accommodation, with a remaining dynamical ability, convergence. And so the idea is to design a lens so that when you look in the forward direction, get good far vision. And when the eye moves toward the nose, the power of the lens will increase to give you vision at a near distance for a nearby object. Now, on top of it, remember that the eye keeps moving around all the time. Saccadic movement of the eye is very important, so we must obtain good vision in any possible gaze direction. Plus, spectacles are a cosmetic element. Don't forget it, they're on your face. People spend more time choosing the frame than choosing the spectacles because of cosmetic consideration. Now, why this is a hard problem? Because there are two requirements of one hand, varying optical power from far to near, and good vision, excellent vision at all gaze directions, they're in conflict. Why they're in conflict, I'm not going to explain here, because the reason for the conflict involves truly deep mathematics. The conflict is a consequence of a very deep theorem in differential geometry. And this is why the initial designers, not mathematicians, didn't understand that no matter what they will do, they're going to hit a wall at some point. Okay, some history. Now, people tried for many years to design multifocal spectacles. They failed for a long time because they didn't realize that there's an intrinsic difficulty. Eventually, two people, Matenas in France, Courant in the US, designed something. Matenas' design was commercialized. It was the first successful multifocal lens on the market. Could have bought it anywhere in the world. The company who did it did very good business, but it's not designed in the regular sense. There was no optimization in the design, and the difficulty I mentioned was ignored in the design. So I looked at the problem together with my colleague Gershon Wolansky, and here is our approach. First of all, as I said before, the world consists for us of many objects. When we look at the forward direction, they are far, 10 meters away, say. When we move the eye toward the nose, they are closer. So this is how we mimic the world that we want to observe. Also, we use the fact that the pupil is small, so in every gaze direction, we only need to take a small part of the light goes into the eye. The two surfaces of the lens, there is a front surface, which I call F, a back surface G, And we simply follow, refract, as I said before, the light of the front surface F, back surface G, to get the light to propagate toward the eye. So once we know lens surfaces F and G, we know exactly how the lens will perform. But we want to go in the opposite direction. We have a desired performance. The question is how to find lens surfaces F and G to achieve what we want to do. So the way it is done is this. The optical designer is using a dedicated code. The code was developed by us. To achieve a high quality lens, the code must simulate many thousands of points in the visual fields. The code must be extremely efficient because we have to refract light in two surfaces many, many times in iterative process to achieve what we want to achieve, some optimal behavior of the lens. There are cosmetic issues, as I mentioned before. I'm going to show an example of the result. Now, this example is unique because even your optometrist never saw a picture like this. So in this picture, we show astigmatism, which is the main distortion in the visual field of a multifocal lens. So on the left, you see a color map. Blue means good. Blue means in the blue area, you have good vision. So here on the top, there's good vision for far distance. Here at the bottom, good vision for reading. But the other colors means worse and worse vision. Green is not so good. Yellow is really not good. Red is bad. So this part you see very poorly. So with this lens, you have some part of the lens for far vision, some part for reading, but a lot of distortion on the two sides. With our code, we could achieve much better design. See, much larger reading area for the lens, much larger far vision area, and much less distortion. This is a very early design. Now we can do much, much better even than this design. Now, so we had an idea for a design for a lens. The question is what to do with it. And now I start totally new path. You are working on some scientific idea and you find a very interesting solution. In medicine, it happens very often. Very often you find a new idea in medicine. There is a problem that arises from the patient bed, from the clinic. There is a problem. You solve it. Now to do with your solution. So here we solve the medical problem. Lens for vision is really a medical problem. And we decided to found a startup to actually take our solution to an actual product. It was called INRAY, the name of the startup name. It was founded by us, the Technion, and together with a strategic partner and a lens manufacturer called Shamir Optical. And the idea was to develop many algorithms and software for problems in ophthalmic optics. We had, along the way, developed 4 products. First of all, software, as I mentioned before, for multifocal spectacle lenses. We developed multifocal contact lenses. Tried to do something with high elaboration, but product number 3 never materialized to anything. Product number 4 was a device or a software device to measure the lens. The optometrist in Avenida Paulista in Sao Paulo that is selling you a multifocal spectacle lens, and they make billions of dollars selling these lenses, they have no idea what they are selling. You cannot measure it. So we thought it would be very nice for optometrists to have a device to measure these lenses. So we developed the algorithm and software for this. Timeline. It's a company. The company has a board of directors. They decided to work only in the ophthalmic market. Okay, so that's what we did. We are just employees there. We developed software for premium spectacles. They were implemented by our client. The upgrade was delivered throughout the years. And if you go now to almost every optometry shop in Avenida Paulista, and I checked it a few months ago, they sell products based on our code and algorithms. Multifocal contact lenses, we had a design, initial design, and they led to, and the client manufactured them, there were clinical trials. However, they were good, I thought they were good, but they decided to terminate the project. Why? I don't know. I'm not a businessman, and I admit it, I don't know. measuring these lenses, measuring free-form asymmetric optical surfaces. For me, this is a mystery. There is a product, it was tested on a computer, the market doesn't want it. I cannot educate the optometrists, cannot educate them, they don't want it. And so at some point, this is the negative part of the business world. You have to give up. It's okay, I have a wonderful solution, don't want it. So we won't manufacture it. Eventually, the company was sold to Shamir. Now Shamir is part of Essilor, the largest manufacturer of spectacle lenses in the world. So you also have to learn how to give your baby to somebody else at some point. You have a company, a product, give somebody else, and go back to do scientific research. So this was my perspective of taking an idea from the lab, from the office, into commercial product. But this was a very focused idea and very limited experience. What about university as a whole? So for my last few minutes, my last few slides will be about my perspective as the vice president for research at my university, where I was also in charge of all innovation and entrepreneurship at the university. This is a very interesting slide. You see the number of so-called TTO. TTO is Tech Transfer Office. Number of universities in the US that try to take ideas from the lab and clinic into commercial product, to commercialize their inventions. You see the graph, in the graph you see huge change around 1980, exponential growth. What happened in that year? The US Congress passed the Bayh-Dole Act. They gave the university the intellectual property rights for inventions made with federal money. So many universities, 200 of them, jumped on the wagon, founded an office for tech transfer, tried to commercialize their inventions. However, most of them lost money. It costs money to do it. So why do they do it? Well, one reason, it's good to have an innovation ecosystem for the whole university, for the faculty and also for the student. Also for the hospital, same thing, same problem, same approach. Second, to help the economy. So you are a university, the state funds you, help your economy. Then help humankind. If you have, particularly in the medical field, if you have an invention in the medical field, and you can make a device or a drug out of it, wonderful. You help it, you have patients. But how to do it? To do it, you really have to develop a winning strategy. So very briefly, I shall explain how the Technion is doing it. So we have a tech transfer office called T3, Technion Tech Transfer, and we identify different stages. This is useful, but also for the individual researcher. First, ideation, research. Then we have a new idea, patent protection. In medical field, it's a must. Apply for a patent to protect your idea. Then you need somebody to guide you, how to continue your research toward the product. Which industry, which fund, which is the market. How to find your work, R&D funding is very important to continue finding toward the product. And then the university should help you. The university should help you to license your intellectual property, maybe establish a spin-off like we did, or sell it to some established company, plus need some investment. And we have several vehicles for this, for example, grants, internal grants, grant from the government and industry to help the move from idea to proof of concept. It's a very difficult transition. Then prototype. We have an idea called T-Start. It's an accelerator for prototyping in invention. We have an office to commercialize it. Now, the next stage is very difficult. Very often, ideas are lost between the lab and the market. They are lost because you must overcome here a very deep valley of understanding what the market really wants, how your idea may be wonderful, but might be a little bit off the market. Somebody should guide you. You need the help from business people to guide you whether to channel your research. Your idea is wonderful, just channel it better into the market. We have some investment for some initial investment. For example, we joined an incubator. This incubator only in the health care field. This incubator means if your idea is accepted to the incubator, they fund you, they give you business advice, and then they find even further investment later on to enhance your idea. I must say that this is very special incubator in Israel. It's a joint Jewish-Arab incubator where both inventors, investors, managers, everything is a joint Jewish-Arab activity. It's a wonderful incubator. Finally, we have some other vehicles for investment, mostly in the medical field. Here are some results. This is very briefly, I show you some spin-off in agriculture, which is just next door to medicine. For example, BeHero. BeHero is a company to design advanced beehives. In food, Nilio and other farms are cultured meat companies. Here are some, this is just a sample of some of our medical spin-off. Cytovision is a bioinformatic company to develop new drugs. Pfizer is the partner. Nevia is a company for feminine medicine. Tamar is an exact robotic surgery companies. And there are many more. We have our portfolio of startup is over 100 spin-offs, different fields, about 2/3 of them in the medical field. We have some exits, some success stories. For example, Parkinson drug marketed by Teva. Novq developed medical device to detect NASDAQ. And a few Mazor Robotics, Slotometronics. And whenever you succeed at the university of selling an invention, the income goes back to research. We buy equipment, we have a fellowship, we can support, we have internal grant, etc. So these success stories benefit our own university. Okay, here are some conclusions from my presentation. First of all, it is highly recommended to travel. Avoid being trapped in a zone of comfort. Second, look for mentors. Always look for mentors. Third, choose good problems. Very easy said than done, but I'll give you some ideas. Choose a problem that's not too hard. You won't be able to solve it. Not too easy, it will be trivial. From my point of view, it should be quantified, so mathematics can be helpful. And some other consideration you develop to yourself, it should be interesting. If it will be boring, you won't do it. Then, combining mathematics with medicine and physiology is very exciting and can be very impactful. Number 5, I think, is very important. If you have a new idea with commercial prospect, go for it. Now, it will be hard. It's a hard road, not an easy road to go from an idea, from your research, academic research to a product, but it is you really enjoy it. And don't do it for the money. Very often it won't succeed. And if it succeeds, your satisfaction will not come from the money. It will come from knowing that you had an idea in your lab or in your office from your research, and somebody is using your idea. It's used to help people, particularly in medicine. It goes without saying, if you have a successful idea, product in medicine, you help humankind. And finally, it is a message for the administration of Einstein or in university. The administration is a crucial role in fostering innovation and entrepreneurship in the campus or in the hospital. So I really expect the administration to understand. And when I visited Einstein a few months ago, I had the impression this is very well understood in Einstein. I was really impressed by the approach Einstein has now towards innovation and entrepreneurship. This is the end of my talk. But my last words for the audience here is I wish good luck to Carlo Ancelotti and the Brazilian national soccer team next year in the Mondial in US. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Koby. It was a wonderful and inspirational talk. I really appreciate all of your thoughts. And it's very nice to see all your trajectory as a researcher, startup founder, and research administrator. Congratulations, and it's a pleasure for me to attend your talk today. I'm really wow, surprised at you. How many collaborators did you have during your journey? In my first question is, I understand and I love this, avoid a zone of comfort, and I totally agree with you. And all the guest speakers, I think that there is one common sense about look for good mentors. I think that this is brilliant. This is the basic thing to give an advice for a student, to have or look for good mentors. And my question is, when you decided to study abroad, who motivated you? Your mentor or friends, colleagues, or by yourself?
The truth is that it was my advisor during my master degree. My
Okay.
advisor told me, go for PhD, go to NYU, to the Courant Institute. I told them, listen, I'm the first person in my family to go to college.
Wow.
So going to PhD, this is way beyond me.
Sure.
He said, ignore it. In the academic world, you are judged only by merit, not by your background, not by your social status, only by merit. I think you are good enough to go for it. And
Wow.
he encouraged me to do it. So definitely I should thank him for that. But
And
I think nowadays it is more common to do it, and it is more common to travel. But my impression, again, for the career, that my impression was in South America, talking about mostly Argentina, Brazil, and Chile, the most advanced countries academically, sometimes people stay for the entire study in their home country. While in Europe and in India or China and the Middle East, people tend to travel. So I guess it's a matter of culture.
yes, yes, I totally agree. It's much of culture, and I think that you are totally right. And going in 1980s to Stanford, how was the connection started with this university?
Connection between whom?
Between you and Stanford, who made the contact? Your mentor? You
Okay.
try
Uh,
by yourself alone? How was this story?
it's a funny story. Um, so why I chose to go to Courant, to NYU for PhD? Because
Yeah.
when I was a student at the Technion, I did master degree, I read papers by a professor called Joe Keller. And I really liked this paper. I thought he was doing wonderful mathematics with very interesting applications. And I knew, it said on the paper, he's a professor at NYU, at Courant Institute. So I went there. What I didn't know, I discovered when I arrived there, that 2 years earlier, he moved to Stanford. So when I arrived at Courant, he wasn't there. But I made a point to remember after my PhD, try to get to him, to work with him. So I applied I wrote to him, will you take me to your group? And he said, sure, come over. That's how I went to Stanford. So it's really serendipity in some sense, but there's some design. You identify a person, say a mentor, you want to work with that mentor, and you try to get to him. Work hard, try through the door, try through the window, try somehow to get to this mentor.
Yeah, I love these stories, and I think that's very important because sometimes you can use these stories to like good experiences, like because in that time, no emails, is that right?
Exactly. No internet.
No
I do not
internet.
know
Yeah,
in the early 80s, there was still no internet. So I had no way of knowing that he moved to Stanford.
yes,
But eventually it was good because the Courant Institute was a wonderful place. And later on, I did get to work with him at Stanford.
yeah, and I like it very much when I heard in your talk about this was the turning point to think what you want to do for your future, not only your mentors. Like you give the example of the tree, I like very much this.
Absolutely, it is absolutely true. And again, it's part luck, but my intention, my design. Working with a great mentor can really affect your life.
Yeah. And when we decided to go back to Israel, how was the situation? You have your job, your position guaranteed. How was it worked?
Well, I had a position at Stanford, but I realized that although it's great to be with such a great person, such as Keller, if you want to have your own line, you should go elsewhere. So I went to Technion, but I kept in touch with him. Every year, I went back for a few weeks to visit and talk to him and work with him for several years. But
Wow.
at some point, you need to have your own office, your own lab, your own path of science. You have to go up.
And after Stanford, going back to Israel and Technion,
The- yes.
was the relationship with Indiana University?
Okay, one of my colleagues is from Indiana, Peter Sternberg, and I went to visit him. In one of these visits, I realized that they have there a very, very strong group in visual optics. They have a school of optometry in Indiana with a very strong group in visual optics. So I went to talk to them. And I said, wow, it's great. I can go to Indiana to work with mathematicians there. It's a very good university, very good math department. And at the same time, I have access to a fantastic group in visual optics, which was and still is one of my main fields of interest. So it was a great combination. Plus, Indiana University is a very good university in general. It's a good music school. It's a very nice place. So there are many reasons to be there. And I'm still associated with them. I go there very often to visit them.
Oh, wonderful. I have some questions for you. One of them is on the chat. What is the biggest challenge did you encounter in bridging the gap between academic ideas and the real world applications?
Wow, that's a tough question. Well, I'll tell you, there's something, and I have a metaphor for this. Here's my metaphor. Uh, the difference between industry and the military on one side and the academic world on the other side. In industry, also in the military, they give you a point on the wall. They give you a circle. They say you must shoot inside the circle. Here's the problem, solve this problem. And if you shoot inside, you solve the problem, wonderful. Outside, nobody cares. In the academic world, it's the opposite. You first shoot, you solve something. Then you draw a circle. That's a great solution. The solution to what? So in the academic world, sometimes we don't present to ourselves challenges that are relevant to the real world, to the market, to the real world. But we work on interesting problems scientifically. Scientifically, they're interesting, but they might not be to get great answers, but to what questions? And the difficult part is sometimes you have an answer and you realize there is a question over there in the real world that I can answer with my scientific result. But very often you need to move a little bit elsewhere. So it is, I would say, a disease of many researchers that they fall in love with their scientific result, academic result, and don't give up, while the world is slightly off. So this is one main obstacle to understand what the market is, and second, sometimes you don't realize that your research led to a result that has potential application in the real world. Just don't realize it. It's good to have somebody who can advise you, can assist you in understanding that. And the third obstacle is funding. It requires funding. Sometimes the grant authority gives you the grant for scientific research. They don't care about the commercial application. They don't want to support it. So funding is also an issue.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
Plus, I must say one more thing.
Sure.
You may be great. You may be a great scientist, a genius scientist, but be very modest when you start doing business because you don't understand business. Try to find a businessman to lead you to the business work, to the market.
Yes, I think that you're totally right, and this is a great answer for this question in real life. Yes, and regarding our universities, another question: how do you see the role of universities in nurturing entrepreneurial thinking about students and faculty?
Okay. I think that there are several answers to your question. We at the Technion, we posed this question to ourselves about 6 years ago, and we do it in several ways. First of all, we make it very easy for the student faculty to take their scientific research onto a product. Don't make it hard on them. It should be a simple way to do it, and you shouldn't feel they spend time or waste time talking to business people. Second is to help them identify that what they did in their research can be useful to the real world outside. Make it challenging for them. Try to convince them about the joy in observing at the end that their idea led to some product. And in particular, there is great joy, as I said, in the medical field. There's a drug, there is a new medical device. It's wonderful when you succeed. And sometimes you have the opposite problem, where the student or faculty are too eager to rush with the idea to start up, to sell it, to do something commercial with it. You have to warn them that it is a long path, it's a long road, not a straightforward road. There are many obstacles along the way, and to prepare them to the hardship along the way. But overall, and plus you need funding. So try university should have, I think, some fund to support students and faculties that want to try to develop their ideas into a product or a software or device or something. And also the educational part. Give them a course. Give a course to students and faculty about what is a business. What does it mean to found a startup? How to find the investment? What is a patent? What is a company? What is a board? What is a manager of a company? Give them a course about business. Because even if they won't have a startup, many of them later on are going to work for companies. So they know what they are doing there beyond their lab or their office.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because you have a lot of experience in all these three positions, and it's very good to hear that you are motivating students to do that.
Well, I talk, whenever Einstein, I talk to people who are doing it at Einstein. I was very pleased and highly impressed by the approach at the hospital. Clearly, it is well understood that what should be done, and I can see that Einstein administration is trying to work towards it.
No, great. And no, and I think that the big success is the collaborations, that Einstein do with you and other researchers and academic researchers around the world. And we are really, really appreciate that. And I love it. And I'm very impressed with how many subjects you are studying, like adjustable spectacles, studying cochlea, dental cavities, cancer, bladder cancer. It's amazing. But I have another question for you. Looking ahead, what emerging trends in academic and innovation excite you the most?
When I worked with Joe Keller, I once asked him, what do you think scientists will do 10 years from now? He told me, if I knew the answer, I would do it now. But nowadays, I can answer your question because now there is something that's happening in the world, is disrupting everything. This is artificial intelligence. AI. AI is changing the world around us, also scientifically, and it is a disruptive technology, and I think it will change the way people do science in every discipline. So somehow you should always ask yourself what this can do for me. AI, I think it is a very, by the way, AI is several aspects to it. People think only now talking about generative AI, new text and new answer to question, but there's also the issue of machine learning. Now a much better machine learning codes than used to be. So I think this is now an extremely exciting field with huge amount of application on academia, industry, hospitals. I think most people don't realize how big challenges we have now stemming from AI could be also opportunities if you know how to use it. Certainly going to change academia in the next few years.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Yeah, and I love to see your research about the adjustable spectacles and the premium spectacle software using algorithms. I think that's very smart, and I know that many people have problems with like floaters, ghosting, double vision, and maybe having these adjustable spectacles. It will be wonderful, you know. If you don't have severe conditions to justify these issues, I think that this is really perfect, you know, because, and I always imagine like when people, obese individuals or overweight, that they are losing weight, there are changes in the eye globe, and maybe these adjustable spectacles could be give the final answers for their issues. I think that is really smart, and congratulations for all your research. I have a final question for you, and my final question is to finalize this wonderful conversation with Professor Rubinstein. What advice you'd give to students and young professionals who want to move between academia, industry, and entrepreneurship throughout their careers? Which is the best time to do it, or there is no time?
I think it's very individual. It's hard to give a general advice. I think in the last 10, 15 years, there was a big change in the interplay between academia and industry. Universities are doing more and more applied research, and I talked about it in my presentation. At the same time, in industry, they're doing very advanced research and some teaching as well. So there's some scientific disciplines where industry is ahead of academia. Two of them are AI, of course, and quantum computing. Certainly, these two fields, industry is ahead of academia. So the border between academia and industry is now blurred. There's no clear border anymore. And therefore, people can go back and forth. I have some colleagues who left academia, went to a company, then came back to academia, or maybe stayed in industry. So there's no perfect time. It's really individual, and sometimes you don't even feel a transition. So I think in the future, this border will be even more blurred. You see, leading US universities, many faculty members are consulting industry or take 2, 3, 4, 5 years of leave to work for industry. So the advantage of being in academia is that you have more freedom. You choose what to work on. This is an advantage, but on the other hand, in industry, you have maybe more possibility, better infrastructure, like as I said, quantum computing or AI. Now, in the medical field, you should always be close to the hospital. Otherwise, you're detached from reality. So I also recommend people in the medical field to remain close, to retain close connection to hospital. No matter what you do, retain close connection to hospitals.
Wonderful, Professor Koby. Thank you very much for your participation in our international webinar. I hope that everybody enjoyed. I personally enjoyed it a lot. It was truly wonderful. And thank
Thank
you.
you very much for the invitation to beat Sao Paulo again.
Sure, of course. And we are waiting for you too. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
See you. Take care.